What's up everybody, Dustin from MyFreedomSmokes here with my coconut water and my plethora of devices. I've got 3 different box mods here, 3 different RDAs. Basically all have identical coils, identical builds inside of them, but each one does something different, and I'm going to talk to you about my 3 favorite RDAs we have here at the shop, inside MyFreedomSmokes. What I started off here is this Centerfold by Dynasty. Big fan of Dynasty, like drip tips, like the chuff style caps, like the RDA. I'm a big fan of it. That's only 40 watts right there. You can crank this thing up. That's why I put it on the e-cig. It is the cloud chasing RDA of sorts, if you want to call it that. It's also pretty good for flavor. Mostly advertised as cloud chasing though, so crank this thing up in wattage as compared to these other two. And that's only 50, kind of wispy, but you crank this thing up even higher. You're chucking like thick plumes of clouds right there. Inside you've got 4 posts, similar to what you have in a lot of other RDAs, but these are kind of like the middle ones. The positive right here are a little higher. Makes it easier, like aesthetically it's nicer, easier to build on, adjusting your screws and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. Build deck is nice, has multiple airflow points, the regular slits on the side, and then these little holes on the side of the actual deck that creates like a cyclone effect, similar to the plume veil RDAs, if you're familiar with that. Very similar to that. Aesthetically, this thing is nice. I'm a real big fan of black and brass or black and gold. That just really appeals to me. So, I was definitely driven to this RDA. I've seen several, mods, box mod RDA combinations where they have that murdered out black look with some, brass rings or a brass, drip tip. Big fan of that. So I threw that on here just, to show off a 100 watt device. I don't really carry a lot of high wattage. I'm a flavor chaser usually, but when I do flavor chasing, I throw this on one of my, above 70 watt devices, this 100 watt device, my 150 watt devices, my Snow Wolf 200 watt device. That's what I throw this thing on there when I, want to chuck some clouds. Up next right here, we have the Zoro. Now, this thing is a lot of fun. I love the little tiny RDAs, the squashed RDAs, and this has by far has been my favorite of all of them that I've tried. Tried about 5 or 6 RDAs about the same dimensions of this one, and this one has shown out to me. Very similar to the Freak Show Mini RDA that you guys might be familiar with. Very similar to that, but the post holes are huge. Build deck, plenty of room for your juice, plenty of room for the way you wick it. You can stuff this thing with cotton, has a lot of room. Chucks clouds too, like I said, 40 watts on this little 40 watt device that I have right here. I had all these at 40 watts. Identical builds. I consider this my flavor RDA or my stealth vape. The clouds are gonna, be similar, but still, like if I were to travel with this fits perfectly in your pocket. Get you a small bottle of juice, 10, 15 ml bottle, a dripper or something like that. Carry this thing in your pocket, you can chuck clouds on the go. That's perfect for travel right there. Big fan of the Zoro. Stainless look with this little chuff cap that comes with it. You can't go wrong with it. Chuck clouds, got all the flavor you want from it. And with the post holes inside this thing being huge, I use 22 gauge in here. I've used 20 gauge before, pretty snug, but I've gotten, dual coil 20 gauge wraps in here. Right now, I'm thinking I'm using 20, I think this is 24 gauge if I remember correctly. But dual coils in here, no problem, fits perfect, lots of room to work with. Not a bad vape. Discreet, perfect, tiny. Now here we go. This is actually my daily carry, my most favorite. Here I have it on my personal IPV-D2, all dressed up in my blue. I've got a blue E-clip on here, and then my blue Sapor. One of my most favorite RDAs I've had in a while. It is a Chinese authentic by Wotofo. Still a big fan of it though. My flavor chaser, also a good cloud chaser. I've got a skinnier drip tip on here, concentrates the flavor. I'm not chucking clouds on this thing. This is what I carry around. This is how I get my nicotine, my flavor, just what I use out in public. Clips on my belt, stays tiny. Chucks all day in this thing. Really big fan. Airflow is from the top. Comes in from the sides of this The chimney, this is what I like to call it. The chimney right here comes from the side, comes from the bottom, so it sucks all the vapor directly from the coil, goes through the top, sucks in. Pretty innovative. I'm a big fan of this. I'm definitely what you would call a flavor chaser, and this blends the thick plumes that you would be blowing, cloud chasing or whatever, but it also gives you intense flavor with the way the airflow works. This is what I use when I'm testing juices, when we get samples in, stuff like that, or I have to do a review video. I usually drip it on the Sapor. It's perfect for flavor. You can chuck clouds all day, but you don't get that perfect amount of flavor when you're chucking huge clouds of these huge, airy RDAs. Condense that in a tiny drip tip. Tighten off your airflow just a little bit in this thing. Build a cool vape, and this thing's satisfying. You can puff on it all day. Big fan of it. That's why I said I carry this one around all day. It's a perfect blend of these two. This one has a more airy draw if it's wide open. You can customize it, tighten it, the draw on the centerfold right here if you wanted to, but I keep it wide open. If it's made for that, use it for what it's made for. But if it's the only thing you have and you don't have a huge choice of 50 RDAs like I do, I have a collection of too many RDAs. That's how I would describe it. I wouldn't give you a number, I'll just call it too many. I have so many that, I have that same problem that you have on Netflix where you're looking at it and you're like, oh God, what are we gonna watch? I'm like, what am I gonna vape? Throw it on this. Try to narrow it down to 3 for you guys, and it was a pretty difficult, activity for me to do, But, small stealth, go with the Zoro. Carry it in your pocket. It's not overwhelming. You're not gonna lose the cap on this thing. Easy to drip. You drip it straight through the, the chuff style cap right there on the top if you wanted to. This bad boy right here, chuck clouds all day. Stealth vapor. Got the hybrid right here. All 3 of these RDAs, you're supporting innovation. Money's going to the people that created it. You're supporting the industry. It's a big deal to me. So, I hope you guys take these considerations to heart. Maybe it helps you make a decision. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it, narrows some things down. Like, if you're trying to get into vaping, I really recommend these 3 as good starting points. All 3 of them are very beginner friendly. Decks are easy to build on, not complicated, come with all the tools you need, everything involved. All you need to do is buy some wire, Kanthal, nickel, whatever you want to buy to put in these devices. But, other than that, no cons on these things whatsoever. These are the 3 most perfect, I hate using that word, most perfect in my opinion, RDAs that we have inside the store. So, hope you guys enjoy. As always, this is Dustin from MyFreedomSmokes. Thank you for vaping.